The following is a Stars and Strikes doubles rebroadcast featuring some of our most memorable recent programs.
WNDS Sports and Tri-State Megabucks present Stars and Strikes doubles. From the Londonderry Bowling Center, Stars and Strikes doubles features the best Candlepin bowlers from around New England in team competition. Stars and Strikes doubles is produced in conjunction with the New Hampshire Candlepin Bowling Association. And now your hosts, Doug Brown and Dan Murphy.
Hi, everyone, and welcome again to Stars and Strikes Doubles Championship Week. Championship weekend, really, with the mixed doubles tomorrow and the doubles today. Again, I'm Dan Murphy going solo. Doug Brown promises to be back next week. And as I said, Championship Week. 4 bowlers, 2 teams. The first and second seeded teams. I guess that's the way it's supposed to happen. If you missed it last week, Tom O'Brian and Wayne Dennen defeated Rico Baldinelli and Gary Carrington 340 to 314. So this week, championship week, 2 teams left. One of these teams will be in the Tournament of Champions come spring. So without further ado, let's take a look at both teams for this week. Our number 2 seeded team from Natick, Massachusetts, Tom O'Brian, and Wakefield, Massachusetts, Wayne Dennen. And Tom comes in averaging 128. His roll-off score to qualify for the show at 699. Wayne Dennen averaging 123, and his roll-off score to qualify for the show at 685. Trying to make it 2 wins in a row. Standing in the way, the number 1 seeded team this week, Frank Rose from Atkinson, New Hampshire, and Dan Brodeur from Bow, New Hampshire. Frank comes in averaging 130. His roll-off score, the top roll-off score of the men, at 703. Dan Brodeur averaging 120 and his roll-off score at a decent 700 himself. So that combined roll-off score was 1403. Not too shabby. Okay, championship week. We'll take a short break. We'll come back. I'll catch you up on the ladder and how we've fared the last several weeks. And we'll see which one of these teams moves on to the Tournament of Champions. Take a short break. Don't go away. Okay, welcome back, and let me just catch you up. 3 weeks ago, Reggie DeLine and Joe Ashline defeated Bob Mazur and Steve Vadney 414 to 378. We haven't seen a 3-string total, anything close to that since then. They went on to next week to bow Rico Baldinelli and Gary Carrington, and they went down and defeat 334 to 298. And last week, they went down to defeat on the hands of Tom O'Brian and Wayne Dennen, 340 to 314. So neither team, or any team, has won 2 matches in a row, and that's down to our number 1 and 2 seeds for this week's show, Tom O'Brian and Wayne Dennen, and Mr. Rose and Mr. Brodeur in the number 1 seeded position right there, as you can see. Get the match going. Wayne Dennen now. Championship week. Championship weekend, as I said. Don't forget our mixed doubles show tomorrow. I'll mention who we have coming up later on in the show in case you've missed that. Also catch you up on the qualifiers that are already in the doubles Tournament of Champions and their score. And Wayne Dennen starts right off the match with a spare. You see the replay just catches enough of the 2-pin and the wood to clear away the 8-pin and the 6 and 10 for the spare. Just the 3 fill. 1, 5, and 9 are out of there. Spread eagle plus the 9. And he works out it with an 8 and 21 after 2. If you watched the close of the show last week, and of course it was a low-scoring affair last couple weeks, but none of the 4 bowlers were making any excuses. They just plain out said they didn't bowl well. Missing the head pin with the first ball and missing some spare opportunities. But you can't blame Frank Rose for that leave. 4, 7, 10, no wood. Frank Rose is married, wife Donna. And 8 for Frank. Has 2 children, Karen 25, David 23. And there goes the 3-pin. The only other appearance Frank has with us is on the singles back in December of '93. He was seeded 4th and lost to Dennis Shute 403 to 379. And one other appearance, but he was scheduled to appear on March in '92, but the back injury, he had to withdraw. So he's a fairly newcomer to Stars and Strikes. Tom O'Brian now on lane 30. 3-pin and the 4-pin. Piece of wood to the right. Tried to play that one, but to no avail. And 10. 31 through 3. I missed last week the interview with Tom O'Brian. Very complimentary to the other bowlers. He said they were very fortunate to come out with a win. Rico Baldinelli and Gary Carrington were certainly not on top of their game. Neither was Tom and his partner Wayne, but it was enough to win. And 8 and 39 after 4. Now we'll finish the first rotation of bowlers and get our first look today anyways at Dan Brodeur from Bow, New Hampshire. Last time Dan was on the double show, he was partnered with Phil Clough, and they beat Dan Valcourt and Joe Ashline 422 to 396 on January 8th of this year. Then lost to Reggie DeLine and Pat Pay 375 to 352 the very next week. Dan also appeared this season on doubles on December of '93. And he was partnered with Mike Fish. They lost to Tom Farrell and Bob Johnson 336 to 333, a very close match. In fact, I think in that match Dan Brodeur needed a double strike the last box to have a chance, and he threw one. Wasn't able to come up with a second one. Dan's looking at the 6-pin. Piece of wood in front of the 6. And he converts that for a spare. Other qualifiers for the Tournament Champions, you ask? Well, here they are. And here's the scores to start watching for today. Ed Gerolman and Brian Fuller at the top of the heap with 430. Seated second right now, John Maffeo and Dave Arsenal at 405. Third, Bob Kelly and Larry Valcourt at 381. And in fourth position, Stan Mayo and Scott Richardson at 347. Even though we've been in the midst of our mixed doubles format on the singles show, I can give you the qualifiers into the singles tournament champions later on in this show. Oh, great spare by Wayne Dennen. Let's take another look at that one. Right in the 1-3 pocket, headpin goes down and takes out the 4-7. Ball does the damage on the rest. Second mark of the match for that team. All spares so far. That was on a spare, just 3 for Frank Rose. Almost 2 in a row. Frank does a lot of his bowling at the Park Place lanes where we tape the singles show. Ouch. 5-6. The match is actually tied here. Tom O'Brien's team will take the lead after this ball because he's working on a spare. And almost a strike, everything but the 5. 67 now. Tom works for NEC Corporation in Boxborough, Mass in sales. And Tom makes it 2 in a row now. 2 spares, 3rd mark for the team. Does a lot of his bowling at the Fairway Sports World in Natick and the Sudbury Bowl in Sudbury, Mass. But likes the state of New Hampshire, I'm sure. Comes up for most of the roll-offs. That close to another one. And make it 10. Dan Brodeur's married, wife Marlene. Dan works as a maintenance electrician for Concord Litho Company in Concord, New Hampshire. And where does he do his bowling, you say? Botwell's Bowling Center. Great place in Concord. Good effort by Dan. 7, 8, and 10 pins left. Get 8 and 66, so it's a 15-pin advantage right now for the team of O'Brian and Dennen. And there you see the scoreboard. Should mention last week and this week, if there's a mistake on the electronic scoreboard, it is not my fault. Tanya Murphy Lewis is running the computerized scoring for you people at home, so you can blame her. Dan just sliding by the 5-pin. Actually, that would cost him that shot. Makes the 10, still trailing by 15. Wayne Dennen will shoot at the 3 and 6 for a spare. And yes, converts that in the 9th. Gives him 101 plus the bonus ball to come. Wayne is a contractor, does a lot of his bowling right here at the Londonderry Bowling Center, as well as Melrose Bowl in Melrose, Massachusetts. And he is married. Wife's name is June. Fourth mark for the team, all spares. Frank Rose on lane 30. Cindy Sissom was going to go down and remove that piece of wood pin that's rolled out of play. And gets a nice hand. '86 now through 9. And Frank will have to do some house cleaning and clear that piece of wood out, and he knocks the pin down. So we'll have to reset. While he's resetting, don't forget one of our major contributing sponsors, Tri-State Megabucks. Just imagine. Tri-State's been with us many, many years, and we applaud the people at Tri-State Megabucks. Frank, full on the head pin. Well, the lead is going to belong to Tom O'Brian and Wayne Dennen. How many? Well, it remains to be seen with this ball. It's going to be a 9 in 95, and it looks like a 21-pin advantage now for Tom O'Brian and Wayne Dennen. We'll be back with string number 2 and see if Frank Rose and Dan Brodeur can do something about that. Stay with us, won't you? Okay, string number 2. Dan Brodeur will start it off. Trying to put a dent in that 21-pin deficit that the team is facing. 4 horsemen left. And just an 8. The 1, the 3, and the 10 pins left for Dan. Ooh, just missed a head pin to the right. And it's an 18 start for the first 2 frames. Did said I mentioned the tournament champions on the single shot side of the ledger. That's our Sunday show at noontime. Sitting at the top of the heap with that is Joe Ashline, 441. Peter Flynn, 421. John Potorsky had a great run for his qualification into the tournament of champions at 375. Mark Gregory at 370. So that catches up the singles side of it. But right now we're concerned with the doubles. The range from a high of 430 qualifying score to 347 top to bottom. So a lot of room in between. Oh, great effort by Tom O'Brian, but no mark to show for it. Seems like I've been saying that a lot last couple weeks. Nice try, but 20 after 2 increases their lead by 2 more, now leading by 23. First game, 4 marks for Tom O'Brian and Wayne Dennen, all spares. 1 mark for Frank Rose and Dan Brodeur, and that being a spare. So we're still looking for our first strike of the match. He works it out for 9. 27 now through 3. There's our first strike in the match, off the ball of Frank Rose in the 4th. Well, maybe that'll wake the team up of Dan Brodeur and Frank Rose. Sometimes that first strike is enough to get you going. Certainly has to help the confidence level. 2, 5, 9. Piece of wood right out in front, looking right at him. Oh, pinning well, 3 10s, 30 through 3. Call your nearest NHCBA, New Hampshire Candlepin Bowling Association house to find out when the next roll-off is for Stars and Strikes. All you have to do is get into a semi-final roll-off at one of the houses, be in the top 5 for the single show, top 10 for the double show. And they'll tell you where the area final is, and maybe you'll be a contestant. Spare up now in the 4th for Tom O'Brian and Wayne Dennen. There you see it, 40 to 37. 24-pin advantage for O'Brian and Dennen. We'll be back, finish game number 2. Well, it could be one of the bigger balls in the match right now, thrown by Dan Brodeur, working on a strike. Left it off to the right. Let's see, though. Not a bad break. 1, 2, and 5, though. 5-pin is usually the problem pin in a situation like this. You have to be heavy on the head pin to carry the 5, but not too heavy to carry the 3. It's spare on strike, though. Carry the 2-pin, I should say, and let's take a look at that. Actually, the wood kept the head pin in play for him. 2 in a row now for the team of Brodeur and Rose. Off target to the left, 60 at the halfway point now. Oh, we'll let it go. 3 in a row now. Great recovery by Dan Brodeur. Missed badly to the left, came right back in the 1-3 pocket, and would the 5-pin go? There it goes. 3 in a row, striking 2 spares. Tom O'Brian now working on a spare. Nice drop of 7. 2, 4, 7, but not a nice piece of wood. Lying right next to the 2 and 4. Goes down low, gets the 2 and the 7, leaves the 4. Make it 10-57 now. So lead is dropped to 18. However, Dan Brodeur put another mark up, so unless Tom can put a mark up, that lead will be reduced even more. One, 3, and 7 left. Oh, pretty good effort. .966. So Frank Rose has a chance to cut into a 17-pin deficit now with this ball on the spare. Four horsemen in the 9-pin for Frank. .83 now, through 8. String of marks stops at 3. It's 2 spares and 1 strike now for the team of Frank Rose and Dan Brodeur. 5 spares for the team of O'Brian and Dennen. Will it be another strike? No. 10-pin left. Just sliding off to the right. Opportunity goes by the board. Why is it so easy with that third ball? Well, 2 open frames for Wayne Dennen to try to get some of that lead back. Lead now is dropped to 12 pins, just a dozen. It's opposite an 8 frame, so he will gain at least in count. 2 more. Lead now 14. Four, 7. No wood. Oh. He was real light on the 4-pin and slapped it against the left side wall. It came back in front of the 7-pin again, never knocked it down. So it's 10, 86. Lead remains at 14. Final 2 frames, second string for Dan Brodeur. Winner of this match, winning team will split $800. Losing team will split $400. And of course, the berth into the Tournament of Champions. .102 now for Dan Brodeur in the 9th. Two, 5, and 9. Piece of wood also in there, which should come into play. Looks good. Oh my! Leaves the 9. I thought he had it, Dan thought he had it, and the crowd thought he had it. Let's see what happens. Nothing touches the 9-pin. Looks like he's pretty heavy on the 2-pin and drove it right straight back just to the right of the 9-pin. So it's 112. That could be a strike if that would hit. Yes, it is. Strike in the 9th. Drops down 9 quickly here and needs some help on the 7-pin, and here it comes. Double? Not quite. But this would give them a good cushion going in. Actually missed the pin, but the pin came from behind for the spare on strike. It's a 106. 1/16 and a 10th with the bonus ball to come, and what would appear to be a commanding lead. However, it's only 4. 120 and a 236 for a total, and a 29-pin advantage for Tom O'Brian and Wayne Dennen. 1 string to go, championship week. We'll be back to finish this up. Stay with us. Okay, Wayne Dennen is going to start off with the team. You know, as we get closer, the score on the bubble, so to speak, is 347. Then it climbs to 381. Spare in the first. One way to protect the 29-pin advantage. Just enough to trip the 4-pin right there off the left sidewall. I would assume that the 430 and the 405 scores are probably safe. It's going to take a pretty decent game to catch the 381. But you never know. Right now, I think both teams are thinking about the win. That's 27 through 2. Oh, that close. No luck for Frank Rose on that. And that's what they need is marks. Being down by 29. That'll increase somewhat now. 8 more. Let's see what happens with that 7-pin. Just as I said, no luck. Frank Rose. That ball was in there. Almost a strike. Only had 2 or more marks 3 times in the match. Twice by O'Brian and Dennen, and once by Rose and Brodeur. There's a spare in the second. Something to build on. Tom O'Brian now on lane 30. That 10-pin is rocking and rolling, but it's not going to fall. Nine and 36 through 3. Six pin left for Tom. Dropped that one badly, missed it to the left, so an opening for Dan Brodeur to work on. 2 open frames in the third and the fourth, and he'll be working on a spare. 45. I'm sure Danny's thinking strike on spare. Lead is 37 minus this ball. Danny dropped that one, just 2. A little bit behind himself. Still have some work ahead of him. And it's 30, so the lead now is 35. 7 frames remaining for Dan Brodeur and Frank Rose. That's the ball he wanted on that spare. 2 and 5. Just to watch out for that wood because it's real high. Nope. They're able to convert it. Spare in the fourth, something for him to build on. We'll take a short break and we'll come back, finish game number 3, championship week. Stay with us. Oh, Wayne Dennen up for the 5th and 6th frames. No, can't carry that extra pin. 2, 4, and 6, but no playable wood. Gonna have to do it all himself. Just 9, 54. 4 open frames after opening with that spare in the first. Dan Brodeur, Frank Rose can't seem to take advantage of it, at least not yet. Wow. Sometimes you think you're throwing marshmallows down there. Ball doesn't seem to mix the pins at all. That seemed in the pocket, that close to a spare, but nothing seemed to really happen with the pins falling all around the pins and a lot of them standing up. Let's take a 9 box again. So 2 open frames sets the stage for Frank Rose, I should say, to fill the spare put up by Dan Brodeur, and he's opposite 2 open frames. 2 marks here. This match is back to be pretty close to being even. It's a good-looking ball, and wants the 5-pin to drop, leaves himself just the 7. And it's 2 in a row now for the team of Frank Rose and Dan Brodeur. Lead drops to 24. Oh, got a good break off the head pin, just the 1 and 2. 8 pins on the fill. And this is the mark to make Tom and Wayne start thinking. Oh, and he's full on the head pin, drives it back, leaves the 2-pin. So Tom O'Brian take a sigh of relief. Just dodged the bullet there. And it's 9-76, 13-pin advantage in this string. However, they're still trailing by 16. It's about this point last week that Tom O'Brian and Wayne Dennen put 3 marks in a row to ice the match against Gary Carrington and Rico Baldinelli. That close to a spare for Tom. Make it 9-72. And again, that's 6 open frames. .610, piece of wood out in front. No! Wow. At 7 open frames, and Dan Brodeur will be able to put a couple marks up and get right back in the match. Tom thought he covered that, so didn't I. Let's see what happens with the wood. Comes in contact with a 6-pin and then right around the 10, never touches it. 7 open frames for O'Brian and Dennen. Dan Brodeur right back, 9-pin drop, 5-pin. This must look like a pencil down there. Ooh. It's down, Dan says. Doesn't look any different than the other spares up there. It's going to be a little off target. That was the side to be off, but he covered the 5-pin. Now the fill. Good break off the head pin again. Similar shot that Frank Rose had. He had the 1-2. Dan's got the 1-3. He's got to be thinking head pin. And it's 2 in a row. Hold on, folks. This one is a long way from being over. The lead is now just 7 pins, but Frank Rose will be working on a spare in the 8th. Let's see, Wayne's got a triangle. 2, 4, 5 left. Okay, that's a spare in the 9th. That puts a little pressure on Frank Rose to probably get at least 1 more mark, depending on the fill. Oh boy, right through the middle. 5, 97 now through 9. Frank Rose will have to at least have 1 mark. Well, whoever wins this will be seeded number 5 in the Tournament of Champions, but I'm sure that's the farthest thing from the bowler's mind right now. 341 is the total for Dennen and O'Brian. Frank Rose and Dan Brodeur at 207. They need 137 to tie, 138 to win. Oh no, half Worcester right. he would have to pick this up or be in a double strike situation. Oh my, he got it! Still alive, 3 in a row. He would love to have that first ball back. Oh, mercy. 116 in the ninth. 137. .134, I should say, right? 134 to tie. Oh boy. He needs to convert this. He would need to convert this. No, it's not going to happen. And right down to the last box, Frank made a mistake on the first spear by having the half whistle. That time, though, he was all over the head pin and didn't get the break. And he'll end up with an 8 and a 128 and a very close match right at the end. 341 for Tom O'Brian and Wayne Dennen, 335 for Frank Rose and Dan Brodeur. We'll be back to talk to the bowlers, hand the checks out. Don't go away. Welcome back, everyone. Championship week, another one in the books, another qualifier into the Tournament of Champions. And if you like close ones, you got it. 341 to 335. Tom O'Brien and Wayne Dennen move into that Tournament of Champions in the spring. They had 8 spares and 1 strike en route to that 341, and 9 spares and 1 strike for Dan Brodeur and Frank Rose en route to their 335. Closely fought match. Thought they were out of it. Frank Rose made a great shot at the end, only to get 2 on the spare, but came right back with another spare, hit the head pin, but right through the middle, and that was the end of that. But greatly fought match by both teams. Let's bring the runners up first. Dan Brodeur and Frank Rose, come on up, fellas. Well, I'll tell you, tough sledding there for a while, huh, Frank?
Too little, too late. I
Well,
tried.
Both you guys, you know, you can bowl on my team anytime. You guys never give up until it's over. It's never over until it is over. And I gave you up for a loss there for a while. You seemed to be fighting it, but all of a sudden you put a couple marks together and you're right back in the thick of it. You know you needed at least one big mark in the last 2.
Oh, yeah. I knew exactly what I needed. And it was great bowling with Dan. He keep me going all the time. So.
Well, Dan, bittersweet, but I know you didn't waste any. So Thursday night when we're bowling together in a team in Concord, you'll have a few to spare.
Hopefully it'll happen again, yeah. Other than that, I'm speechless.
Speechless. You guys are never speechless. I got to, Doug Brown gets up here, he's got 3 minutes left. I always get up here, I got 8 minutes to fill. I don't understand this, and he takes off. But, well, bittersweet, but don't let me lose. There's 4 minutes of my 8 minutes right there. Check for you, Dan, $200.
Thank you.
Check for you, Frank. One more shot at the Tournament of Champions. Hope to see you back. Congratulations. Nice bowling, Dan.
Thanks, Danny.
This applause is for you. Those are the people that are here. Okay, they didn't break any records. They'll be seated number 5 in the Tournament of Champions at 341, but they're there. Congratulations, Tom. Wayne, were you breathing a little heavy there toward the end, or what, Tom?
I'm getting tired of bowling against Danny Brodeur. Last time it was 2 pins. This time it was only about 5 or 6. But can I just say one thing real quick? I just want to say hi to Scott Wallace and his son, Joseph, who work with me at NEC. He's a great young bowler. He's only 5 years old. He's coming up in the ranks. I just want to say hi to everybody at NEC, and hi to Mike Morrow, who has leukemia. And I'm dedicating this win to Mike Morrow, even though it wasn't that good.
My sentiments exactly. Mike Morrill, a great Candlepin bowler, and Tom, thank for that 2.5 minutes. You owe me now. Wayne made a clutch spare there going down the stretch, that triangle.
Yeah, and I went right through the middle and left the door open for him. I'll tell you, when he made the half whistle, I thought it was over.
Well, at that point, you need the mark to force him to get another mark, and the first thing in your mind is hit the head pin with the ball.
Yeah, and I went right through the middle as usual. I mean, you tighten up a bit, and that's what happened. And he did the same thing in the 10th box. He made a great shot, and one extra pin falls, he may have a shot at it. I mean, it was right down to the wire again.
I thought this entire ladder, Londonderry Bowling Center, was real tight as far as pinfall.
It was tight, big time. You had some of the top competitors in the game in this ladder, and I don't know. It just seemed like the adrenaline wasn't flowing for any of the teams at all. Eddie Geralman and Brian Fuller, 430 something. They both great. But it seems like after that, it's just the adrenaline of the teams. Wayne was in the pocket all day long on both shows, last week and this week, and he didn't really get much action. But me, myself, I will be honest, I was horrible. I didn't really have the adrenaline flowing like I usually do, and we lucked out.
Well, before you can be horrible here, you have to get here, and you did that. So you joined that elusive group. Although you're seated number 5, you're there. You'll be here. You'll be here on the dance floor, right, in a couple weeks. Well, several weeks, and springtime comes around. Congratulations to both of you. Great bowling. See you in the Tournament of Champions. Fellas, you want a check too? I'll give them their check later. They forgot the most important part. They don't really care about the checks, I guess, okay? They're seated number 5, I said, with 341, and right up the ladder, Stan Mayo and Scott Richardson at 347, Bob Kelly, Larry Valcourt, 381, John Maffeo and Dave Arsenault at 405, Ed Gerolman and Brian Fuller at 430 at the top of the heap. Don't forget, tomorrow, noontime, Park Place Lanes, the championship week of the mixed doubles format. Joe Ashline and Carol Downey will be taking on Chris Sargent and Janet Pock. Please be there, and thanks for making us part of your weekend this week. Hope to see you again tomorrow. For Doug Brown, I'm Dan Murphy. For the entire crew, thanks for being with us.